Hey guys, like any of the products you see featured on today's review? Well, you can save 10% on all Arteza products with my code LeilaniJoy1, valid through October 12th, 2018 only. And please shop through my referral links. If you're in the USA, please use tinyurl.com/LJArteza, or if you're shopping from Europe, you can use tinyurl.com/LJArtezaUK. I also have direct links in the description below. Hey guys, I'm fine artist and illustrator Leilani Joy, and I'm here with you today with an exciting art supply review courtesy of Arteza Art Supplies. Now, if you guys are anything like me, getting new art supplies is basically like Christmas morning here in my studio. And every time I go to the art supply store, if there's something there I haven't seen before, it's like, what is this? What can I make out of it? And can I afford it? So I'm really excited to be here with you guys to give my honest first-hand review of 3 of Arteza's new products, including their expert colored pencils, their premium acrylic paints, and the one that I'm probably the most excited to try is their real brush pens. Now, I have been hearing some fantastic things about these on Instagram, and I've seen some videos of other artists. And basically, these are a water-based ink brush pen that you can blend with water to create some flowing ink and watercolor type effects, which I'm really excited about because I love flowing colors, as many of you guys know. So just a little reminder that if you find anything that you would like to try or anything else from the Arteza website, please order through my affiliate link at tinyurl.com/LJArteza. And on top of that, I'm giving you guys a little 10% discount on your first order with this code below. So make sure you use my link and this code to get your 10% off. And this code will expire in 30 days after the publishing of this video. So make sure you order before this deadline. That's your cutoff. So anyway, let's put these babies to the test and see what we can do with them. I've got a few experiments in mind. I'm not going to go easy on them. By the way, they're not paying me. This is my honest review. So I'm just going to tell you guys what I think and see what we can create with these. Let's get started. So first things first, let's take a quick look at the packaging and presentation of these Arteza products, starting with the 72 colored pencil set. And these come in a nice little metal tin with all your colors arranged. They are in these little kind of flimsy plastic trays, which I'm not a huge fan of. These tend to fall out and spill all over, so it's not really a great way to store your pencils. It looks like you get a nice broad spectrum with this set, and you've got some middle grays, black and white. So this is definitely some great colors to work with. You can see they're already kind of falling out of here. So that is what those look like. Next, we're going to look at the acrylic paint set, which looks like this, and this is the Arteza 60 premium acrylic colors, and it comes in this nice little box here, which has a key that contains all of the colors that are in here, and this nice little key on the bottom that tells you the light fastness of each color as well as the transparency. So just based on these little symbols here, you can kind of tell how transparent it is, how light fast, and it also has a pigment number, which that's a nice little feature. So inside here, you've got all your acrylic paints in these little tubes. And once again, I'm not like a huge fan of all this plasticky packaging, but these don't bother me too much because you can just pull out the colors and put them back in, and you can keep them all in order in this box. All your colors. And yeah, so and on each tube, like I said, it's got the little key that tells you the light fastness and the number. And yeah, so that's about what those look like. And finally, we're going to take a look at the brush pens. So here we have Arteza's real brush pens in the 48 count set. And on first observations, this packaging is, not ideal. It's pretty cheapy and flimsy. But honestly, if the product is good, I don't really mind that so much. If this saves you money without like a fancy box, then cool by me. There's lots of ways you can store your own pens. It looks like there's a pretty nice variety of colors here, even though it doesn't appear that they're like in any ascending spectrum order. It also comes with this water fillable pen that you can put water inside and use this to blend with all of these colors. You can get some watercolor gradients and also mix colors really nicely. So I'm really excited to try this with the pens. But more importantly, let's see how they perform. So for me, a good review is not complete without a great compare and contrast. So I'm going to be comparing Arteza's colored pencils with Prismacolors, which I've been a longtime fan and user of. So I'm going to use the same color, which is indigo in this case. And to test these, I'm going to start with a hard pressure. I'm pushing down pretty hard to get the pigment out. Then I'm going to do a soft pressure test. And then finally, just like a thin little line here so you can compare. Then I'm going to do the same thing with my Prisma pencil, and these keep sliding down. Stop it! And now I'm going to do a hard pressure. This is the same color once again. And first impressions, I'm really noticing that Artezas are a lot harder than Prismas. Prismas, sometimes to a fault, are very soft, and the pigment flows really nicely, and you can get some very nice solid colors. The one thing I hate about Prismas, though, is that whenever I try to sharpen them, they break. So I've lost a lot of pencils that way. So Artezas are also have a nice amount of pigment, I feel like, but I'm definitely feeling that harder texture that I have to really push, and I'm getting more lines. Prismas, I don't have to push as hard, and I notice it blends and it's just a lot softer. The price difference on these, typically Prismacolors go for about $1.29 per pencil, sometimes $2. So it would be about $92 for a set of 72 versus the Artezas, which is about $32 currently for the 72 set, and making that about 44 cents per pencil. As far as the pigment goes, I do find them pretty comparable, especially on this toned charcoal paper I have. You can see that the white is just about as bright as the Prisma, which is really nice. When I worked on some blending techniques, again, I did notice that Prisma was significantly softer, so it does allow for a creamier blending, if that's really what you're after. I can add light layers with the Arteza. They're definitely a harder pencil, but I did get a pretty decent blend using both. It kind of just depends on if you like that creamier, waxier pencil, or if you like to do lots of thin layers with a harder pencil. It gives you a little more control. You can sharpen them to a finer tip. I usually have a very hard time getting Prismacolors to a fine point tip without them breaking or squishing. So I would say for the price difference, they're actually comparable, but it does depend on what kind of colored pencil technique and effects that you want. So for my next comparison, I'll be putting the Arteza Premium Acrylic colors up against the Golden Artist Color Acrylics, which is my preferred brand. Now for this test, I did a very similar technique with the colored pencils where I tested similar colors right against each other. The top line here is the Arteza brand and the bottom line is the Golden. As you can see, the pigments are actually very similar. And in the second row here, I took a permanent marker and made some lines to kind of test the opacity. And except for the yellow, which the Golden did have better coverage than the Arteza, the Viridian Green and the Burnt Umber performed very, very similarly, which was a really nice surprise actually. Over the years, I've used a lot of student quality paints, and based on the price, my guess was that Arteza was going to fall into the student brand quality, but I was pleasantly surprised by how nice these were and how vibrant the pigments are, how comparable they are to Golden, and the opacity and coverage, which is usually what you lose when you get cheaper paint. They usually go on thinner, you have to do more layers, there's just not as much pigment in there, but based on my test, I would highly recommend these. I'm going to use them a little bit more in an actual painting situation, but based on the simple test, these really passed with flying colors, and I think you should give these a try. Now for my final comparison, I'll be putting the Arteza brush pens up against the Winsor & Newton watercolors and Golden Fluid acrylics. Now I don't have the exact same matching reds, so I am using red versus alizarin crimson and whatever comparable reds I have. But in the first column here, I will be using the pure color that is straight out of the tube, and in the watercolor case mixed with a little bit of water. And in my second column here, I'm going to take my pure pigments and blend them with water to see how they perform. I am doing this on watercolor paper so we can kind of see how this works. But my first impressions are the Arteza brush pens are gorgeous. That pigment is so saturated and so bright and works so nice with the water. The Winsor & Newton works pretty good too. I don't quite get the same vibrancy as the ink pen. And the Golden Fluid acrylics I noticed didn't break up quite as much as the watercolor. It stayed a little bit more intact on the top there. So this is kind of nice to see how these all perform against each other. So for my final crash test, I took this watercolor sample I painted and I left it outside in bright, hot, direct sunlight for 5 days. Because Lord knows there's nothing worse than spending hours and hours doing a beautiful piece of artwork and then having it hung in someone's house, maybe in some sunlight, and getting fading or losing your painting entirely. So I know it's not a good idea to typically hang watercolors in direct sunlight anyway, but just to see how these did up against the Arteza ink brush pens, I wanted to see the final results. So after 5 days, I brought it in and I scanned it, and these were the results. And I was very surprised how all of these held up very well, actually, but especially the Arteza brush pens. They're still super pigmented and vibrant and basically no fading whatsoever, which was amazing. And here is a photo I took with my phone without any of the saturation distortion from my scanner, but you can still clearly see how saturated and vibrant the ink pens are. So feel free to draw away and create a masterpiece and not have to worry about too much fading or loss of pigment. So I had this little drawing that I started, and I decided to test out my Arteza brand products. I'm going to do all the coloring and finishing using their ink brush pens, premium acrylic colors, and finally doing some details with their expert colored pencils. So I'm doing this drawing in graphite on watercolor paper, and I'm starting with the Arteza ink brush pens, and I'm using their water blender as well. And let's take a look at how this piece develops. Now I'm finished with the inks, I'm going to take my Arteza acrylic paints and paint right on top of my real brush pens. And so far this is going on nice and opaque and allows me to really build up some layers and some saturated color right on top of the ink. Now for the berries, I'm using a carmine red from the acrylic color set, and this is once again layering really nice and opaque, and I'm going to finish these up and then use some colored pencils to do some line work and detail. conclusion, I'm honestly kind of blown away by the quality of Artesa's products. When I looked at the prices of these online in their store, I was like, okay, there's probably going to fall into the like student grade quality. Honestly, I had a hard time finding something wrong with these. So I would definitely recommend all of these products. To sum up, my favorite product of the day was definitely the Real brush pens. I created a unique piece with the look and feel of watercolor, but much easier application and much more saturated color. I'm kind of obsessed with these pigments, actually. My only future concern may be how long they last, and with a set like this, I'm kind of worried if I'll use up some colors a lot faster than others, so I really wish maybe Arteza would sell replacement colors individually. The premium acrylic colors are the best budget-friendly paints that I've tried, actually, and I've tried a few. Definitely a fantastic starter kit that will save you the frustration of super thin, watered-down cheap paints. And the colors were a great match for golden, and the opacity was also excellent. It layered super well over the brush pen and the ink on watercolor, and the size makes them great for travel or plein air outdoor painting as well. The colored pencils had good strong pigment and created nice line work on my piece, but my only complaint with these is that they're a little bit harder than I personally like, but they're definitely better quality than Crayola or most cheap colored pencils. They're no Prismacolors though, but you know, for the price, I think it's still a good compromise. I'd say that they fall somewhere in the middle. They are definitely nice for detail work and layering on top of acrylics or watercolor and even the Real brush pens because they are nice and opaque and pigmented. I would definitely recommend them as well for the price, and I think they're a nice set for students or anyone beginning with colored pencils. So good job, Arteza. These are amazing. I can't wait to try some more products from you guys. I hope you guys will too, especially at the price tag. It's really kind of fantastic. And I'm definitely going to recommend these to my students as well, especially if they want to try some different mediums. So thank you guys for hanging out. I hope you found this review useful, and I hope to see you guys on another review and art video very soon. Bye, guys.